Where is a good place to practice yoga? Well, today you have the opportunity to practice yoga almost anywhere. If you are tuning in here, you've probably had some experience practicing at home. In fact, so many people are what we call home practitioners, that it's a burgeoning community of people around the world that unroll their mats by themselves and practice, sometimes with the support of a teacher virtually, sometimes with the support of videos online or a virtual community, and sometimes by themselves, where no one even knows that they're practicing. When I first started the practice, I had the great blessing of joining a flourishing yoga community in person. So I practiced in real life. I had a teacher, and then within the first year that I started practicing Ashtanga yoga, I made the trip to India to meet the people who would become my teachers for the last 25 years. And I'm so glad that I made that trip. And after I went to India and I spent months practicing under the guidance of my teachers, I came back to the United States where I became a home practitioner. So I unrolled my mat by myself. This was way before the time that there were virtual classes or online videos that could support your practice. So I unrolled my mat by myself and practiced alone. And I know how lonely that feels to be a solitary home practitioner, because that's been the majority of my experience practicing yoga. I would practice alone in my living room, practice wherever I could, in my parents' garage, and then I would take time to go back and study with my teacher, and again spend more months in India devoting myself to the practice, and when I'd come back home to the United States, again I would be a home practitioner. And there were classes that I could go to, but because of where I lived, it was not opportune for me to make the long distance journey to join the classes that were available regularly. You may be in a similar position. I speak to so many people who feel like, oh, maybe because they live remotely or maybe because of financial reasons, they just are not able to join the in-person classes that are nearby. Or perhaps they really feel like my teacher is far away. I had this great blessing of finding a traditional lineage-based practice in the small South Indian city called Mysore. And I really felt like these are my teachers. I didn't need more teachers. So when I came back home, I also really wasn't looking for additional classes to practice in. I felt like I'm going to do my own practice, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to practice with my teachers. So I took on this kind of mantle of self-practice in that way. And I'm really grateful for that, because there are a couple of things that happen when you're a home practitioner or you're a self-practitioner. Number one, you're not waiting for anyone to come over and give you an assist. Sometimes when you go to in-person classes, you kind of track it a little bit like your how many assists did I get? How much attention did I get from the teacher or something like that? And when you're a home practitioner, you know that there's no one coming to give you an assist. So this kind of forces you to try to figure it out on your own. So I devised all sorts of methods for figuring things out on my own that I would have never done had I just been practicing in a class where someone would be helping me. Whether it was, using random objects around the house to give me an assist, or just figuring out different tools and techniques to kind of break down how I would actually approach the yoga poses. Being a home practitioner made me stronger. It made me take responsibility for my own practice, where I felt like this is my practice. It's not dependent on someone else. I'm responsible for this practice. There's no one checking on me. There's no one holding me accountable. I must hold myself accountable. There's the idea in the spiritual journey of yoga that no matter how much the community supports you, it's always up to the individual practitioner. We say that ultimately the yoga practice is a solitary practice. Even if you have the benefit of an amazing teacher and an amazing community, it's still up to you to get on your mat and do the practice every single day. No one else can do that but you. So it's up to each individual student to take on that personal agency that says, yes, I can do this. Yes, this is important to me. Yes, I'm going to carve out the time. Even if it's just 5 minutes, I'm going to get on my mat. I'm going to practice. This is important to me. That is the commitment that the home practitioner makes to a larger and further and deeper degree than an individual who practices in person. Not that one is better than the other. I'm not creating a hierarchy in that regard. They're both really, really beneficial. Sometimes it's useful to have Periods where you go to class and you're in a community. If you're a home practitioner and you feel, gosh, I'm really losing it here, it's time for you to go practice in a community. That's the time for you to seek the guidance of a teacher, reconnect with your community, seek a virtual community and online space where people can lift you up and support you. We need these periods where we're truly solitary and where we're truly supported to kind of create a good mix to keep us on the path. The home practitioner, the solitary practitioner that gets too divorced from their community and their teacher can veer a little bit too off course. So sometimes we end up going in a completely different direction than what the traditional practice may offer to us. And we can start doing all sorts of other things and get confused about what the practice is actually about. So if you find yourself as a home practitioner and you feel like, gosh, I just don't know what to do, then make sure you have as many resources as possible to really assist your journey. Number one, recognize and acknowledge the difficulty of setting up a home practice. Number two, make sure that you have access to a virtual community. Make sure that you can check in with as many virtual resources as possible. Online classes, support classes, video classes, things that can really help keep you inspired. Make sure you have a teacher that you can check in with in real life now and again, because that will really, really help you connect in person so that you can feel less isolated. Now, when you're setting up your home practice space, there are a couple of really important things that helped me. It's useful to practice in the same spot, to create a kind of sacred space around where your yoga mat is going to be, to create a home altar where you may even put a picture of your teacher, or you may even arrange some sacred objects, things that have special spiritual value to you. It might just be a candle, or it might be an object of religious significance to you. But you can place that in an altar space that creates kind of a portal into the sense of the sacred. And you can enlist all of your family members or anyone you're cohabitating with to recognize and sort of respect the authenticity of that sacred space, so that they see when the candle is burning and the incense is lit, then I know that they know that you're practicing in that moment, and they'll learn to respect that space. If you practice in the same spot every day, even your animals will get to know, oh, it's practice time now. I have a friend of mine whose dogs got trained to hear the opening prayer of the practice, and then they would go into their corner and they would lie in their corner until they heard the closing prayer of the practice, at which point they got up from their dog beds and they came over and they knew that the practice was over. And if dogs can be trained to respect the practice, then all the beings in our life can be trained to respect our practice, including ourselves. Having a ritualized approach to the practice means that you're using less of your superego kind of decision-making strength to get on the mat. If you practice at the same time in the same spot every day, then you know that you do it, just like brushing your teeth. It begins to be a behavior that's ingrained almost as a habit into your daily discipline, into your daily life. You don't use a lot of energy to brush your teeth. It's not like a big event. Oh, I need to brush my teeth. Oh my goodness, where's the toothbrush? Oh, this is so horrible. But sometimes we get resistant to our practice like that, especially when we're home practitioners. We stand on the mat and we think, oh, I should do the laundry. Oh, I should do the dishes. Oh, I should clean the floor. Oh, I'd rather not today. Oh, this is boring. Oh, my teacher is not here. Oh, and we just sort of lose it. But if we just think about, I practice at the same time, in the same spot, every day, we use as many kind of kinesthetic senses to bring ourselves into the sense of the sacred. So those sacred objects, lighting the candle, putting some incense, standing in that spot is a portal that we walk through, almost like we're walking in through the temple doors. So we recreate that sense of the sacred. And in this way, the home practice really gives you the opportunity to, again, take responsibility, not only for the asanas that we're doing, but for the creation of that sense of the sacred, so that you begin to be kind of a light within yourself, and you understand, oh, I don't need external sources to tap into the sacred within. I can become that portal in myself. And as you continue the practice, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger in your home practice. And then what I notice, because I'm mostly still a home practitioner, when I come to class, then there's this energy that's just infusing me with enthusiasm. It feels so nice to come to class after periods of time that I've spent alone. Then there's this communal sense of the sacred. So whether you're a home practitioner or you have the benefit of practicing with your teacher, whichever part of your journey on, please always recognize, again, that yoga still is a solitary journey. The end of our practice, one of the descriptions of liberation of the practice, kaivalya. And kaivalya literally means aloneness, or translated into English from the Sanskrit as aloneness. Or, and we have this idea that, well, that might sound a little depressing, like I'm doing all this work to just be alone. I'm already alone. But it's not like that. We're thinking about that we are separating ourselves from all the obstacles, and we're separating ourselves from all the delusional, the delusions of personality, all the things that keep us bound to the ego, all the things that keep us bound to the limited view of what you could call the small self. So when we truly stand without any of the veneer of personality, and we truly stand authentically ourselves, almost, we could say that we bare our souls, then in that moment, that's the freedom, that's the kaivalya, that's what the practice has to offer. We can only attain that ourselves. No one else can do the practice for you. Even if your teacher's standing there, it's still up to you to do the practice. Even if the community is really enthusiastic, it's still up to you. So remember the tools of what it takes to build a really stable and foundational home practice. I created Omstars.com because I know there's so many home practitioners out there who are really, really interested in getting the support to really dive into the spiritual journey. And we keep developing all of our offerings at Omstars so that you can really get those tools. There's a new program called the Yogaversity program, which is a one-year education in yoga where you can really learn to become a practitioner scholar. So maybe those are right tools for you, or maybe you just feel like I want to light that candle and develop the strength to do my practice, or maybe you want to make a trip to practice with your teacher in person. Whatever it is, let the foundation of your home practice really lead you deeper and deeper into the journey. And my wish for you is that you continue to practice every day for the rest of your life, and you let the practice of yoga lead you to living a happier and more peaceful life.